Hey friends, Sleepy here, and welcome to another episode of my weekly playlist series. We've made it to another Friday, which means it's time for me to share with you guys the games I've been playing during the week, give you guys my thoughts and opinions on these games, whether I like them or not. I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions on the games I share with you guys. I'd also like to hear about the games you guys have been playing during the past week, as it gives me great ideas on new games to check out, and I do appreciate everybody who has been sharing their games with me, as you guys have piqued my interest in quite a few titles. I also appreciate anybody who has any suggestions on games they think I should check out, as you guys have also suggested some really good titles here in the past 2 years of me doing this series, and I have a nice growing list of games to check out. I do apologize that I was not able to get one of these filmed last week, as I had just returned from vacation last Friday, and it was just craziness at work. I had to go in early, and I just was super tired that day. Just didn't have time to film last week's weekly playlist video. So we're resuming it here this week. So I'm going to talk about the games I actually played the last 2 weeks to get me caught up. Got 3 games to share with you guys this week. Well, actually, technically 4 games. But we'll get started here. First one here is for Xbox One. It's one I've been playing for about a month, and I actually finally beat it 100%, and that was Shaoan Yuan Sword 7, which this is an awesome action RPG set in ancient China. A lot of people compare this to like an Asian Witcher, which I would agree with. Fantastic game. Has a great setting being in ancient China. Read you guys a little bit back from the back. So, journey across ancient China as a cinematic adventure unfolds. Take on the role of the calm and reliable swordsman Tai Shi Zhao as he fights to protect his family and uncover the truth of a blight that threatens all of China. With a story deeply rooted in ancient Chinese history and mythology, Xiao Yuan Sword 7 reimagines both as one fantastical and chaotic realm under the governance of the new Jin dynasty. So you can slash, block, dodge, repost, and combo based real time combat. And it also talks about controlling the Elysium Scroll, which you can use to slow down time, absorb monsters, or alter the environment, which is really cool. It's a feature the main character has where he's able to slow down time and have a little timer and stuff to make enemies easier to attack, and you can also absorb their souls, which is really cool and interesting. You'll run into a huge variety of enemies. Sometimes you'll have some human enemies, but you'll also will run into different demons and stuff, which is just awesome. Had a blast playing through this game, and it just kept me wanting to go back, playing it more and more. I got like almost 30 hours into this game to 100% beat it by going through the entire main story. I also went through and did all the side quests. There's a cool mini game side quest in this called Zhou Chess, which is basically like a take on Tic Tac Toe, which I have really enjoyed. And I went through and beat all the various opponents in the game, which I even found some secret ones in a secret bonus area that I found, which kind of breaks the fourth wall, but it was really cool experience. And I just really liked that little mini game because you start out with just some basic pieces, but you can unlock special pieces that can do different things. Because the whole idea is to collect more pieces from your opponent. Whoever has the most pieces at the end is the winner. And there's only 24 slots, so each have 12 pieces to put on the board, and you can have up to 6 special pieces with you. And as you progress through the mini game story, there you'll unlock new pieces as you beat opponents, because of newer opponents you play, they obviously they get more difficult, and so you need those better pieces to take them on. And sometimes they can be really challenging. There was a couple of them that were pretty difficult for me to beat, but I felt so satisfied when I finally did beat them. So it was really cool. Really enjoyed the main story overall. It was really good. Voice acting in this game is done really well. Also, it's completely in Chinese, which I really enjoyed. That it's the native Chinese language with English subtitles, because it really draws you into the world. So I really appreciate that they kept that. There was no English dub for it, but I thought that just really brings you into the world, makes you immerse more into it. So I really appreciate that they did that. This was made by a small team from Taiwan, and they've actually been making this series since the 90s, but this is the first time it made it to the West, and they did a phenomenal job with this game. And I'm really glad I was able to get a physical copy, as this had a pretty small print run. It launched at $50, but I got mine for only $40. Highly recommend you guys check out this game. It is awesome. The combat is done in real time, which you can do combos and stuff. But your character Taishi Zhao actually is able to unlock different martial arts moves, which is cool. They can do different super attacks, and as you actually use those super attacks, they actually gets leveled up. And sometimes it's like 3, 4, or 5. When you get to the max level, you actually can do a super attack with it, which comes in very handy, especially in the boss battles. As some of the boss battles do remind me of battles in games like Dark Souls, Demon Souls type thing, where they can be extremely difficult, and you have to learn how to dodge and block and hit a few times and counter moves and stuff, because some of the bosses are very difficult in the game. Another thing that was really cool is that this had a free upgrade, and you got 2 DLC boss monsters in it, and they added some new items and stuff. So it was overall a very wonderful experience. You do have the main character Taishi Zhao you play as, but he also has his sister and his friend Hong, and both of them are controlled by the computer, but they do fight alongside you, and they become very handy too as you get throughout the game, because you can level up all 3 of the characters, and level 50 is the max for all the characters. I did level them up. Now they all have their own weapons, and unfortunately you cannot get different weapons for them, but you can upgrade their weapons to make them a lot stronger. And I highly recommend upgrading their weapons, as it increases their damage and stuff like that. And it makes the game a lot easier, as the enemies get tougher as you go through the story. So it's definitely good to level up your characters and level up your items. Now you can't upgrade their armor sets and stuff that they can wear. However, you can craft new ones, because there is this Elysium world that you can go into through the menu, and you have these different Elysium towers, which you can actually upgrade with materials that you find throughout the world, and you use those buildings to actually craft new weapons, upgrades, new armor pieces, and then you can also use souls that you absorb from enemies to create new armor pieces and health potions and stuff like that, which is really cool. One thing I really like about the health potions is it doesn't instantly heal you. It's actually kind of like a little timer on it, where it heals you over a little over time. So you do have to be careful with that, and it does have a cooldown time. You have magic and stuff in the game. Just overall, a really good game. I think you guys should definitely check out Xiao Yu on Sword 7 on the PC, PS4, Xbox One. Wonderful game. Had an absolute blast. So definitely you guys should check it out. Next game here we're going to talk about is one that I've also been working on for a couple weeks, and that was Grand Theft Auto Liberty City Stories for the PlayStation 2. This is a port of the PSP games, as these were little companion pieces to the original Grand Theft Auto trilogy. And the one I've been playing is Liberty City Stories, where you get to play as Tony. If you guys remember that fat Tony from Grand Theft Auto 3, well, you get to play as him in 1998, a couple of years before the Grand Theft Auto 3, and you get to see how he got his rise to power in the Mafia, and just really fun and enjoyable game. If you guys have loved the original Grand Theft Auto trilogy, you'll definitely enjoy the Liberty City Stories and Vice City Stories, because the Vice City Stories you get to play as Lance Vance, another character from Vice City, so you get to see these characters' pasts and stuff, and there's a lot of missions in the game, just like the regular ones Grand Theft Auto 3 had. So you can do your taxi missions, you can do your vigilante missions, they have the rampage missions, they have ambulance missions, and then you have the main story, and then you have, the side things that you can do there. There's also 100 of the collectibles to find, the hidden packages, so that's really cool. And of course, by doing those, you actually unlock weapons that you can use at your hideout, which is good. There's vehicles to unlock and stuff like that. So I did buy the strategy guides for both of these, and I have been using that strategy guide to help me 100% the game. Definitely have to warn you guys, if you have not played some of these older ones in a long time, they can definitely be a little difficult, as you know the controls are different. You know, they're not going to be the way they are on like Grand Theft Auto 5, so that's something you have to adapt to. So it took me a little bit to get back to used to playing those old controls with the PS2, but it's such a fun game. Just love the whole atmosphere and just love the dark humor and comedy that these Grand Theft Auto games have. It's just really funny hearing the funny commercials and the random NPCs that just fight with each other and steal cars and just randomly punch and beat up each other, and just their comments and all. Just it's just a fun experience, and I've been having a blast with it. I did beat Grand Theft Auto Vice, Liberty City Stories, and Vice City Stories on PSP, but I never beat the PS2 port, so that's what I'm working on now, beating that one, and then I'll eventually go to Vice City Stories after I beat Liberty City Stories. But definitely think you guys should check them out if you've never played them. Get them for the PS2. I just have to warn you that unfortunately both of these are pretty expensive nowadays. At least here locally, they both go for like 30 to 70 bucks each, which is a real shame. But you know, because of the pandemic, everything's been going up in price. But definitely think you guys should check out the Grand Theft Auto Liberty City Stories and Vice City Stories. Awesome games. Definitely worth checking out, especially if you're a fan of Grand Theft Auto games. And these are great companion pieces to the original trilogy, as it gives you more in depth to some of the characters that you meet in those games. You get to see their past and more of their characters develop. So, really good games. Definitely think you check it out. And last one here is Batman Return to Arkham Collection, which is Batman Arkham Asylum and Batman Arkham City, which I finally beat Batman Arkham Asylum this week. I got very far, I got to the very end of the game where I had to fight the final boss, and I just kind of put it down and didn't beat it because I had originally beat it on Xbox 360, but I did not beat it on Xbox One, and so I decided I finally wanted to go back and beat it. I did go through all of Arkham Asylum without a strategy guide, and I got all the Riddler collector, because there are little Riddler collector pieces and things you have to do to solve his puzzles, and I went through the entire Arkham Asylum and got all those, and then beat the store. Very enjoyable game. These are some of the best Batman games they have ever created. The graphics are just amazing. They were great on 360, but on Xbox One, they're even better. And I know if you play these on the Series X or the PS5, you know, they do get the visuals, get you upgraded even more than that. And I had a lot of fun with that. So after I beat Arkham Asylum, I started playing Arkham City now, and I've got a good like 6 hours into that game. And the thing I really like about Arkham City is it takes everything that was great about Arkham Asylum, and it just cranks up the dial and makes it a much larger world. As you, instead of going through just Arkham Asylum now, you get to go through Arkham City, which is a giant prison that's been created for super criminals like your Catwoman and your Mr. Freeze and Joker and Penguin, Two-Face. You know, so you have all the classic Batman villains are populating this city, and you have all their henchmen and stuff, and you have to go through the story with Batman. What also is great is this has all the DLC packs, which talks about even including the Harley Quinn's Revenge, so that's great. So I have all the DLC in this that I actually never played for the Xbox 360 version, because I also get to play as Catwoman in some of the story missions, which is great. Another thing that I really like about Batman Arkham City compared to Arkham Asylum is they actually have a bunch of different side quests you can do, which are not required to do the main quests, but you can do side quests and stuff to unlock abilities for Batman, which is something I really like. Is, you know, you can upgrade his armor so he can take more damage, increase his health. You can unlock new moves for Batman. And then, of course, you know, since he's Batman, you know, he has gadgets and stuff that he actually unlocks as you play through the story. You know, you unlock new gadgets and stuff to get to areas you might not be able to get to because you unlock new gadgets and stuff. And then, of course, this has a bunch of different boss battles against classic Batman villains, which are great. And as you progress through the story, you know, it gets more difficult. I really love the combat in this game, too. It's done very well where you'll fight multiple guys, and you have a system where you're able to, attack guys, but you can also counter and block guys. And sometimes you have some that are unblockable, so you got to come up with ways to dodge enemies and stuff. And sometimes they have weapons and stuff. Batman also has a detective vision mode, which I really like. Is it brings up like an X-ray vision type thing where you can see enemies, blood pressure and heart monitor and stuff like that, and see if they're knocked out or not. And then if they're normal enemies where they don't have any weapons, they're blue. But if they have like a baseball bat or a chair or something, it'll be yellow. And if they have like a knife, then they'll be red. And they also have guys that have guns, which will be an orange color. And you have to dispatch the different enemies by you can knock them out either by directly attacking them, or you can also do stealth things, which Batman's able to do little stealth attacks. They have these takedown moves, they're called. So sometimes in certain rooms, you can take a guy and knock him out and hang him upside down, and then sometimes the other enemies will react to it, and then you'll have to sneak around. There's little grates and stuff to get in through. Batman has his batarangs that he can throw around. He has his little grappling hook which you can use to get around the city, and he has his cape and stuff, which is cool. Another thing that's awesome is since it has all the DLC, it has all the different Batman suits. So as you play the game, you can actually play Batman with different suits, including the old 1970s Batman suit, or you can have Batman Beyond, and then there's also Batman from the animated series from the 90s, which is really cool. So there's a variety of those to play through. Same with um, Catwoman, and then you also can play as some other classic Batman allies, and you can also play as a Harley Quinn. So you have those other story modes in the game, which is on top of the regular game, which I really like. Highly, highly recommend you guys check out the Batman Arkham series. There's 4 of them total: Batman Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, Batman Arkham Origins, and then Batman Arkham Knight. Those 4, which I've played these 2, but I never played the other 2. So I want to beat these 2 and then go through the other 2 Batman games. But these are some of the best Batman games that Rocksteady made, and they're probably some of the best Batman games we'll ever get. And I highly recommend you guys check them out, as they're awesome. We'll do our quick little recap, guys, where I talked about Yuan Shaoan Sword 7. I finally beat this game 100%, did the main story, all the quests and stuff. It's kind of like it was compared to what people call it, like an Asian Witcher. Great game. Action RPG. I had an absolute blast, so definitely think you guys should check it out. Wonderful game, especially if you like ancient Chinese mythology and culture and stuff like I do. You'll definitely enjoy this game. We also talked about Grand Theft Auto Liberty City Stories, which is a great companion piece to the original Grand Theft Auto 3. You get to play as Tony. If you guys remember Fat Tony from Grand Theft Auto 3, you get to play as him before he rose to power through the Mafia. So you get to see his rise to power, and you'll run into characters that you had seen in Grand Theft Auto 3. So that's something that's really cool. And then, of course, we talked about the Batman Return to Arkham games. I played Batman Arkham Asylum and beat it, and I'll bring on Batman Arkham City. 2 games that are just phenomenal Batman games. Some of the best ones we've ever had. Great combat, great visuals, music, lighting, everything. These are just fantastic games. Highly recommend you guys check out these 4 games that I shared with you guys. Let me know if you guys have played any of them, what your guys' thoughts and opinions are on them. I'd also like to hear about the games you guys are playing. And if you have any recommendations on games you think I should check out, let me know, as you guys always do recommend really fun titles. I want to thank you guys for watching. Take care. You guys have an amazing day, and Sleepy will see ya next time.